What's going on, guys? SB here. Hey, listen, I know you guys have been super curious. Many of you out there, I've heard the whispers about this new set of bad boys right here. This is Papatui from Dwayne The Rock Johnson. I believe he's collaborated with some sort of organization, but this is essentially his line, which features a lot of care products like beard creams, beard oils, shaving stuff, just all men's body care. But they released these fragrances right here. We have P01, P07, and P21, in the Papatui line, at least for their fragrance section. These fragrances are available in Target. I don't know the ML actually. I think it's either, I want to say these are 50s or 100s. You'll have to do your own digging on that, but they're priced at $39.99. I think it's a Target exclusive. I haven't seen them anywhere else but online. Yeah, full bottles priced at $39.99. But what I loved immediately was that they have this discovery set of their 3 fragrances, and these are 10 ml. So you don't just get to try them, you get to really wear them for a couple weeks and see if you dig them. And that shows the reliability of the brand, because they don't just want to get a cash grab, they want you to actually spend time with them and make a quality decision. This discovery set is priced at $19.99 at Target, and they're normally readily available. As I saw them coming out, the bottles were actually getting purchased up quite a bit. They do have a limited quantity in store of the discovery sets, but it's pretty substantial. I think just kind of the early release hype is when I saw a ton of bottles and a ton of discovery sets being out of stock, but they restock very quickly, so the distribution is on point. I don't really want to speak in so much depth because I will be doing separate reviews of each of these 3. I kind of mainly just wanted to give you guys key information you should know about when considering this product. And then if you want to see how I feel individually in much more detail, stay tuned for new videos. If you're new to this channel, I have reviews of thousands of fragrances. You simply go to the video section of my channel and search any fragrance in the clone, dupe, inspo, designer, independent niche, and artisanal category, and you'll probably find a modern, at least 2025 or 2026 review of my thoughts on the fragrance. People call me the professor, so hopefully that gives you a little bit of insight as to what you're in for when it comes to my reviews. I really want to make sure you guys don't have to surf the web and watch 10 videos on the same fragrance to make a decision. I really try to give you everything. Now, I've been wearing these fragrances for a couple days a piece, spread out over the course of like the last month. So I've had a lot of wear test. That was my main concern, because I can review a fragrance sitting down at my computer, very easily and thoughtfully. But I know that performance is mainly what you guys are going to be concerned about. Probably at least in the top 2 most, pressing concerns is, do these fragrances hold up? Yes and no. So before I do an initial impressions of these, I just want to let you guys know that in my wear test, the first hour or 2 seems to be pretty projective and substantial. All of these fragrances feel about a middleweight to heavyweight density, leaning on the sweeter side, some more sweet than others. But these feel intimate. That seems to be like a unifying thing. Some go fresh, some go smoky, etc. But they all kind of feel very gentlemanly / intimate, fall wintry scents. But as you'll hear in a minute, you can go 4 seasons with all of this. Now, they did have, I believe, niche level, world-renowned perfumers work on these for quite some time. The Rock is a niche fragrance lover, and you can even see some of the early thoughts and origins of how these fragrances came about by checking out the Kaleidoscope Fragrance Index, I believe is the name of the channel. Good people over there who actually went viral from making recommendations to The Rock, and then shortly after did a follow-up after the Papatui line released, giving feedback and a really thorough review on the products. Yeah, I don't know if it was glaze, some of it, but they spoke very highly of the brand. So I kind of want to just give you my thoughts on these because obviously if you go viral and you know The Rock himself is watching your review, you're going to walk on eggshells. I don't care who you are. So I'm a nobody in this space, so I have no reason to lie to you. I wasn't endorsed by the brand in any way. Let's just walk through and give my initial impressions of each fragrance. So first off, I can already see I have these in the wrong order. So let's fix the order. We're going to start with P01, which is Leather and Woods. And I actually have the fragrances pulled up here on the laptop, so I'm going to give you as much information as humanly possible that I can. This fragrance is for men. It is given so far only 13 votes on Fragrantica, 4.5 rating. So got to get your nose on it, but with only 13 votes, take that with a grain of salt. Classified as a woody spicy for men. And another thing I will say about this line is that a lot of people on Fragrantica are already starting to compare these to a lot of niche fragrances as cheaper alternatives, basically inspos or clones. But I will clarify some of that in my initial wearing. So I will be doing test strip and skin applications of these. As I've said before, I've already worn these quite a bit. Atomizer on the sample set is spectacular. Very nice in the air. And like I said, these feel very middle to heavyweight. So they're somewhat dense, sweet spiced fragrances for the most part, or sweet smoky or sweet clean seem to be the unifying kind of factor in these. But this in the air, oh, that's another thing I want to say about quality. The quality of these fragrances is super on par with designers. Like, it doesn't feel niche for sure, but definitely doesn't feel sub designer. Like it's designer, if not designer better. Like anything better than designer, it's there. So the quality is there. There's no real synthetic, and by synthetic I mean there's no standout notes that feel disjointed. There isn't anything disoriented. These are all very smooth blends, and they will punch and give you a familiarity of many designer fragrances in the space that you are currently loving. My iPad is acting up here. Give me half a second. Top notes, bergamot, cardamom, apple. Middle notes, lavender, violet leaf, patchouli, vanilla, amber, and tonka bean in the base. So it essentially dries down to a kind of spiced amber vanilla here. This is going to imitate a lot of your fragrances like Mercedes-Benz Club Black, Le Male Elixir from Jean-Paul Gaultier. Even a little essence of Jimmy Choo Man, a little bit more vanillic. Closest to Jean-Paul Gaultier though. Le Male Elixir, the golden black stripe bottle. And immediately you get a sense of good quality, surprising quality for many of the fragrances like Finery and Duke and all that stuff that you'll find in a Target. This definitely stands out as probably one of the better fragrances you can pick up at the department retail level. So shout outs to them for that. In my experience with the wear with these, the first hour or two felt robust. I do think despite these all leaning somewhat fall winter, even though they can be 4 seasons because of the sweetness, because of the density, I think they hold up better, or at least were made for that kind of intimate fresh, intimate clean, intimate spiced thing. What was I going to say? The first hour or two feels substantial, and then I get glorified skin scents on all 3. Some perform better than others. They do remain with a good amount of 4+ hour longevity on skin once they become skin scents after the first hour or 2, which I think I'm being gracious. But in the initial spray, you're going to feel like, man, this for sure will last on me. But I assure you, after about an hour or 2 in, these are decently projective skin scents afterward in all 3 from my experience. Excuse me. Oof. Drink a lot of coffee. I'm getting all this air in me. But yeah, it's pretty good. Again, it's closest to Le Male Elixir for me. I will spray it on my wrist. The experience of getting a $20 discovery set with 30 ml total, 10 ml per sample, with a great atomizer and presentation, I think that there's something to be said about that, because you can joyride the whole set, like I said, for weeks for 20 bucks. That's insane. And the fragrances feel substantial. Glass on plastic cap. You know, Addie's great, presentation great. You get a description of each fragrance on the back. I mean, that right there for Target level is just phenomenal. I know there's a lot of discovery sets and stuff for other brands, but due to the quality alongside the fact that you get the discovery set is awesome. I know I'm approaching 10 minutes, so I'm going to try to use the last 10 minutes to evaluate the scents here. So let's get to it. Yeah, and really on skin, it gets a little less Le Male Elixir-ish and goes, you know, I get kind of like a heavy spiced apple amber vanilla thing. And the apple is very much background, so it's mostly like a spiced amber vanilla with just like some apple-ish, like kind of tart flair on it. And again, it feels really substantial, but it turns into about half the weight after about the first hour or two. So my recommendation on all three of these guys is to load the sprays. Don't even count. Literally go 10 plus, like 10 to 20 sprays, especially being that the atomizer will give you a smaller amount of juice than going from the full bottle. Now, if you're in the full bottle, maybe 10 is going to be appropriate for all three. But I think if you're sampling, I'm going 15. I'm just shooting for the stars, just loading my body. It might be a little overwhelming at first. Just go stand outside and then you'll be glad you did, because that way you can tap more into that 4-hour plus range for all three of these. In terms of the projection, I think the longevity on a lot of these is like 3.5 to 6 hours, you know, overall. But in terms of that projective experience where you're smelling the fragrance and really getting a full experience, loading up those sprays is going to make it so that you can breach that 2-hour mark with still getting solid projection and stuff. And my wear test, I wasn't really outside. I was loading it up and then going to work and then experiencing the fragrance in a quiet office. So that would be the place where I would get the most projection and evaluation of, is this scent in the air? And so that was what my experience was in the office. As a scent, this leans fall winter to me, but because it lightens up so much, it can really go 4 seasons. It's intimate, it's gentlemanly, and it's familiar. I wouldn't be surprised to see a alternative recommendation of Le Male Elixir here in the Fragrantica notes. Let's just see. Most people are reporting moderate sillage and longevity. I think the scent bubble here would be about 2 to 3 feet of projection with the similar sillage. Yeah, so Le Male Elixir, Invictus Victory Elixir, 1 Million Royal, all of those are very close to this. But this is very much quality. It doesn't feel like it's chasing. It just feels like it was made by the same guy, essentially. Okay, let's go to P07. This is amber and cypress. So notice that amber connection there. P07, all three of these are eau de parfum concentration, by the way, 4.44 out of 5, so mass appeal territory, only 16 votes. Take that with a grain of salt, please. Classified as a woody aromatic fragrance. I'll scroll down to the notes, and let's just get to it. Okay, so this one is a little bit fresher, a little bit greener, but it still kind of has that intimate, spiced, sweet thing going on. Not as spiced, but intimate, sweet for sure. Jimmy Choo-ish. This one's really nice. I like this one a little bit more because it feels a tad bit more versatile, a little bit less intimate. That green cypress note really just kind of gives it a different tonality, so it's not all about like a vanillic base. Still got that amber kind of slightly dark tint to it, but that green cypress really just puts a different flavor on it and feels more like daily use. Again, this could totally go into evening. Signature scent date night for P01 and P07. And I like this. The cypress is absolutely nice. It's a amber cypress with a woody base. For some reason, it feels a little bit vanillic in the base. Sweetness is like a 5, 6 out of 10, whereas the P01 felt like more of a like a 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10 in terms of the vanillic sweetness. And you really just get the cypress amber on woods. I wonder what this is like. Cypress, amber, patchouli, bergamot, and vetiver as the fragrance. It doesn't have a top, middle, and bottom. These are all base, apparently. Feels like the same level of performance as P01 in terms of projection and sillage. The reports follow suit to that as well, very moderate. And oh yeah, Oud for Greatness. Definitely Oud for Greatness vibes. And for that reason, I immediately think of an alternative being Badial Oud, Oud for Glory, being a much more full-bodied 12-hour plus experience. But for that reason also, I would say if you don't like the kind of Middle Eastern feel of Oud for Glory from Badial Oud, which you can get just about anywhere, I do think this would be the better alternative because I don't get a Middle Eastern vibe from this. It feels very close, like we're almost threading hairs, but I do think it's about a 10% difference from Badial Oud. That 10% difference just being that this is a little bit fresher. This is more of a glorified skin scent, whereas the Badial Oud just projects and has monstrous sillage and longevity. So I do think the Badial Oud for Glory is the true fall-winter wear, and this kind of represents the spring-summer wear style in terms of weight and sillage and projection version of Oud for Greatness. Some people even compared this to Boss Bottled Beyond, Hawas Fire, and Baccarat Rouge. Not at all to me. This really is closest to Oud for Greatness. You will get that tonality in this fragrance, and it's very close to Oud for Greatness. But again, what you're going to experience differently is it has a little bit less body, you know, probably 30% less body, a lot fresher, and after that 2-hour mark, it will taper off into a glorified skin scent, which for the Oud for Greatness DNA is a good thing if you live in hot climate. But again, I would still load this up like 15, 20 sprays and go nuts. On my skin, it gets even less Oud for Greatnessy and goes more fresh. The test strip really maintains that oudy sweet freshness. The Oud kind of leaves and it goes more kind of just a dark freshness. I'm actually surprised. I prefer it more on the test strip than on skin. It's a good smell on skin, but it stops smelling like Oud for Greatness on skin and goes into more of a fresh direction. So maybe that's where the Boss Bottled Beyond alternative comes into play. Decent fragrance. I really loved the opening of this, but a lot of the top notes die out. Like I'm getting almost zero cypress in the base. Yeah, that big green cypress feeling just went away. That's one thing I can say about this fragrance is the opening is so different from the dry down on skin. Yeah, that fragrance just completely changes on skin. Man, so yeah, I actually prefer P01 kind of maintains on test strip to skin in terms of the experience, whereas P07 really has crazy transition and almost transforms instantly on skin to something less. I don't like it as, I love it on the strip. It's okay on the hand. Anyways, I do still think it's a, it's not a spring summer wear. It is just because of it's half the weight of Oud for Greatness, but it still kind of has that dark, fresh thing going on. So kind of like into the evening time type of vibes. I do think it's, you know, wear it however the heck, wherever the heck you want to wear it. But I do think it's geared towards that moving into sunset hour with date night or bachelor vibes in mind. Okay, lastly, let's wrap up with P21, which is bourbon and smoke. Again, all these are fragrances for men. This is supposed to be a smoky, bourbony vanilla. 4.15 out of 5, so a must try. Only 13 votes, again, with a grain of salt. Classified as an Oriental vanilla. Let me pull the notes up. This has a linear note pairing as well. We will put this right here. And let's use the last test strip we got, guys. A lot of people have been asking about Papatui. That's why I wanted to fire this review out. I really was trying to sit with it for a long time and like get a lot of wear tests with it, but now people are just saying, hey, put it out. So, you know, I feel okay since I've spent even, you know, almost a month with it, but really more like 4 or 5 days of wear on all three. Now this one is unique because this one follows more of that kind of Santal 33-ish thing, which for a lot of people is very polarizing. Half the dudes absolutely love it. Half the dudes don't like what it smells like on skin. It kind of has this sweet toilet paper, you know, sweet wet towel kind of smell. I've heard many different comparisons. It's definitely bourbonish in the opening, but the dry down is more of kind of like a sweet linen kind of vibe, but soaked in something. And in this case, bourbon, but the bourbon is there. Don't get me wrong. It's not that smoky. It's more sweet and vanillic. The test strip showcases the scent profile in much more detail than my skin. I'm going to go ahead and apply it to skin. Notes here are going to be charred wood, smoke, vanilla, absolute vanilla, birch, coconut, amber, and berries. The coconut and berries is what's really unique about what they're trying to do here, because typically with this lineup, you would never see coconut and berries mixed in, but obviously they're just trying to jazz up the vanilla. Moderate projection and sillage. It still feels intimate. It still feels into the sunset. These all feel like kind of designer, gentleman, evening, date night, bachelor vibes. None of them has like a super fresh cleanness. So these are all kind of punching with that sweet, fresh thing that you would see with Versace Eros Blue, with Jimmy Choo Man, with 1 Million, with Mercedes-Benz Club Black, a lot of that style. The Santal comparison is close, but I do think this is doing something a little bit different. Okay, so now on my skin, I get more of that like smoky, sweet dry down. Again, it kind of feels like a wet towel with like vanilla coffee syrup sprinkled on it, and then like a little bit of liquid smoke. And you're just standing like 3-4 feet above it, just catching a waft. It's a dark, wet, fresh smoke, it's a dark, wet, fresh liquid smoke vanilla. The vanilla is way in the background now. So now I'm getting that more masculine touch. This is probably going to be a lot of older men's favorite, whereas I feel P01 will probably be the young people's favorite. P07 feels like the weakest of the bunch. This is more unique as a dry down. I think the youth, 25 and down with a fragrance like this will love the opening and hate the dry down, because the dry down, all the vanilla kind of goes away and you're really just left with this slight sweetness, but mostly like a liquid smoke, like a fake liquid smoke smell. It's not synthetic. It's just not real smoky. So it's kind of like a diluted down smoky quality. Was this bourbon? Yeah, smoke and bourbon. So it's mostly, the smoke and bourbon is like 80% smoke, 20% bourbon, dark, wet, fresh. It is fresh though on my skin. Gentlemanly. And because it's the least sweet on my skin of the three, it automatically takes it to a more mature category, especially since it's dominant in smoke. I can see a lot of older men saying that this is the best one from the set, 30 plus gentlemen. This is oddly the freshest of the bunch on my skin after the opening to the dry down, because it's the least sweet. Again, moderate sillage and projection. I forget which one lasted the longest on my skin, but the performance was so close with all these. My recommendation is just that if you spray 15 to 20 times, sit outside for half a second so you don't kill yourself with the projection, and just let it sit. It will go like a middle to low range jumper in terms of projection and longevity. Like, you should get 2 to 4 hours of projection. After about that 2 to 4 hour mark, it's gonna skin scent for the other 8 hours, and then it'll be just gone after you get out of a work shift or go on a date or something. So it's a, it gets the job done level of performance. Yeah, so people compare this to a few things. By the fireplace, I can definitely see that. I can't really right now because I don't have By the Fireplace out. I have smelled that fragrance many times and I do have a sample of it. It's close, but it does have a slightly different personality. It's totally less vanillic. And so this feels like a wet air, like you're in a dark, moist, wet cave and you're getting hints of this smoky, lightly diluted smoke, slight tiniest 2 to 3 out of 10 level sweetness. Yeah. It's got a lot of comparisons. Fan Your Flames, Nishane, Blonde Amber from Clive Christian, Musk Ravageur, Frederick Malle. A lot of comparisons. Opus, Timber. But By the Fireplace is the closest example of this. Which one is better? I think you're going to get more performance out of By the Fireplace, but By the Fireplace kind of is a teeny bop take on a mature concept. This one feels like the slightly more mature out of those two profiles. So at my age, I would actually go for this over By the Fireplace, but it's very close. Like you're threading hairs. I wouldn't call this a clone of By the Fireplace, but so close in the vibe and realm of the scent profile, in the feeling of that kind of dark, wet, fresh air with the fireplace feel. And the lack of sweetness here tells me that if you're under 25, go By the Fireplace or many of the alternatives that are out. And if you're 30 plus, go for this. I'm just curious. Can I pull up the mLs that it gives you? Again, these are all 2026 releases. And I know that it's at least 50 ml. I want to say they're 50 mLs. That's how they feel. Like, and they're like smaller bottles, like they're like this big. So they're very nice as like carry-ons. I'm talking the full bottles. These you can totally carry around. You know, this is like a little bit bigger than like a pack of cigarettes. So you can totally carry these around. But the actual bottles are a little bit smaller than this box. So you can totally, it feels like these are like the size of the bottle. So you can really put those in your pocket and carry them around or put them in your glove box. The size with the atomizer and presentation is impressive and nice. So they checked all the boxes in terms of experience, discoverability, price point, access, quality. They're right at a great price point for people to feel confident wearing fragrances and to stand out a little bit, and to be on caliber with any great designer fragrances that are in that kind of sweet, fresh, intimate feel. So I think for their price point, they are a great option for people if you're in a Target to pick up fragrances of all places, because it scratches the itch of most of those fragrances you would gravitate towards in a Sephora anyway. The performance is really the only caveat, but I think the performance is substantial enough to take it seriously, and you can ramp up the sprays to accommodate what you might lack on skin. And I think that these are all so close, you might even be able to layer with them. But again, because most of them are vanillic or woodsy or ambery, I feel like they're just meant to be standalones. So you might be able to combine to increase the longevity as well. But just take that with a grain of salt. Again, this was the Papatui line, $19.99 to get 3 10 mLs. This was P01, P07, and P21. What is my favorite? It might be P01, to be honest, because Amber and Cypress P07 smelled amazing in the opening and I preferred that. But then by the time I got to the dry down, smell-wise, P21 is the most mature. P07 transitions the hardest into a different fragrance than the opening. And P01 is the most consistent and familiar, I feel. But anyways, get your nose on these guys, $19.99 for 30 ml of fragrance. You can have a heck of a good time. I think it doesn't matter if you're a beginner all the way to niche. A $20 30 ml is, I'll take that all day long. If you have any questions about the Papatui line, just put it in the comments below. I'll link you guys to the website. You can get these, but again, they're available in Target and there's plenty of quantity, at least where I live on the West Coast. So I want you guys to get your nose on this brand. Let me know what you think about it, and maybe we'll give this away. Maybe we'll isolate and give each 10 ml away, or maybe as a discovery set, we'll throw this in the giveaway that's upcoming. So if you want news on that, subscribe. Wait till you see the video titled giveaway. We're going to be giving away 3 lucky individuals massive boxes of fragrances to get you hyped up about your fragrance journey. Again, whether you're a beginner or expert, this is the place you want to be, because I drop reviews by the truckload every single day on this channel. I haven't missed a day in over 1,000 days, and we're really just getting started when it comes to houses, fragrances, how to wear, lifestyle as it relates to the fragrance journey, discounts on fragrances, all that stuff. You can find it here at the Scent Bubble. Again, this was the Papatui brand from Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Hopefully I did it justice. You guys let me know in the comments section below. And until next time, I hope you guys have a blessed rest of your week. Peace.